Okay, good evening, everybody. How you doing? All right. Well, when it comes to Barbados and being here, I think we all know we want to be somewhere warmer, right? Well, Barbados is one of the most amazing destinations in the Caribbean. It is a gorgeous island. It's an island that once you get there, you don't want to leave. And the people are absolutely friendly, and it's a very popular destination for the British as well. So, I call this presentation A Modern Pirate's Treasure. Now, I had a little bit of a challenge putting this together, especially the title. I was going to call this A Pirate's Modern Treasure, but I thought, like, what modern treasure would you call that? Like, duty-free shopping, I guess. Well, so I thought, let's call it A Modern Pirate's Treasure, because once you're there, there's lots to explore. There's lots of great memories to bring home. So that's why I call it A Modern Pirate's Treasure. Well, so let's get on with it. My name is David Kriso. I'm a travel writer. I'm based here in New Jersey, in northern New Jersey. I also work with the cruise lines part-time in the New York area. And I've been enjoying doing these presentations for over 2 years. And this is a topic that I have always enjoyed putting together. I've had a great time putting together as well. So let's get started. A little bit about me. This picture was taken at Rockley Beach in Barbados about 8 years ago. And Rockley Beach is one beach that my family, we have great memories of in Barbados when I was little. So that's me at 33 years old there. Okay, I've been a travel writer since 2011, a travel lecturer since winter of 2015. My website is dektraveljournal.com. DEK is my initials. I've been a Caribbean traveler since I was 4 years old. And we've also had a vacation home on the island of St. Croix for 15 years. I've visited Barbados 12 times total, okay, including 10 when I was little and then twice by cruise. And I can't imagine which visits do I remember the most. I think it was the first 10, because playing on the beach, playing in the ocean, just enjoying that when you're little. Any place you visited, especially Barbados when you're little, it's a great place. It's a great destination you'll never forget. My other publications, I've been on Examiner.com. I was a travel writer with them for 3 years. They ceased operation in July of 2016. I'm also published at BC The Mag, which is the official magazine of Bergen County here in North Jersey. And I've also been published at ProwsEdge.com, which is a cruising magazine based in Vancouver. 2 recent publications I'm in are Noosa Sun, which is a lifestyle magazine based in Tampa, and one other publication that recently came up just back in November. I'm now published in H&E, a lifestyle magazine based in England. So I'm published across the pond. So that's about me, the writer and the lecturer. All right, Barbados at a glance. It's part of what's called the Lesser Antilles, the islands of the Southern Caribbean. Okay? It's located at 250 miles north of Trinidad and Tobago and 167 square miles in size and distance. Okay? Its population is roughly 280,000 people. Its climate is usually a wet season. It lasts from June through November, and a dry season, December through May. During its wet season, it receives 40 to 90 inches of rain. Oh, I've experienced it. I've experienced it on days when it would rain. It would rain all day. All day. So, and then sometimes when it would start raining in the middle of the day, it would just not stop. So that's your wet season. Okay? And Bridgetown is your capital city right here in St. Michael Parish on the southwest shore. Now, just some trivial facts now before we get on to the rest of it. Did you know that the Lord Nelson statue built on Bridgetown's Trafalgar Square, okay, is actually older than the one that is in London? The one you all know about in London is not as old as the one that's in Barbados. So that's a big one. Mount Gay is the world's oldest rum made on Barbados. Great stuff. South Carolina was originally settled by Barbadians. Okay? And the very first governor was Barbadian too. Here's a good one. Barbados is known as the land of the flying fish. Their tails can propel them up to speeds of 55 miles an hour. Okay? I will talk more about the flying fish a little later. Very interesting species of fish. And the Barbadian cherry has the highest level of vitamin C than any fruit. Okay? Than any fruit in the world. So I'll talk a little more about that too. Okay, let's take a closer look. Barbados is believed to come from a Portuguese term, Barbados, or Spanish term, Los Barbados, meaning the bearded ones. Possibly because the Portuguese and the Spanish, they were well known for their facial hair. Possibly because of the pirates back in the early days. So that's what they believe that bearded ones comes from. Barbadians refer to the island as Bim, or short for Bimshire. According to the theorists, Bim comes from the language spoken by slaves, meaning home, kindred kind. All right? So those are two big things I want you to know about Barbados when you look up close. Now, Barbados is broken up into a series of 11 parishes. Okay? Bridgetown is located in St. Michael, and then you have the other 10. Most of them all line the ocean. Okay? St. Thomas and St. George are in the center of the island, and they're the only two parishes with no coastline. All the rest border the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. Based on the system, and it's also based on the system of the Church of England and the visible expression forming the basis of parliamentary procedure. So the way the British functioned government-wise, that's how the Barbadians functioned. And the size and shape of each and every parish, it depends on the plantations back in the colonial times. When you had all those sugarcane fields, along with cotton and tobacco, all right, all those crops, the amount of plantations was unbelievable. I'll talk more about the sugarcane fields a little later. But all 11 parishes, the size and shape, are all dependent on, or all influenced actually, by the number of plantations located in each one, or throughout the island as well. Okay, so that's more about your parishes. Now, speaking of sugarcane fields and slavery, this is Busa, one of the most iconic slaves in all Barbadian history. And He led one of the most famous slave rebellions in all the island's history. Okay, okay, fourth and seventh centuries A.D. Barbados was an Amerindian settlement by the civilization called Saladoid Barrancoid. In the 13th century, the Kalinago arrived from South America, followed up by the Portuguese and Spanish in the 16th and 17th centuries. Then come the 1620s and to the 1640s, the majority of the manual labor was provided by indentured servants. You're Scottish, you're English, you're English, Scottish, and Irish, as well as the African American slaves. Okay. Then came Boosa's rebellion. Okay, this is Boosa, right here in this picture, taking a sword to a British soldier. Okay, this is one of the most iconic rebellions, one of the most iconic conflicts in all the island's history. The largest slave revolt in all Barbadian history. Boosa led the rebellion, which was defeated by the British forces. It was the first of 3 large-scale slave rebellions in the British West Indies that shook the public faith in slavery in the years leading up to abolition of slavery and eventually the emancipation of former slaves. Now, Boosa, he commanded some 400 freedom fighters, both men and women, most who were believed to be Creole, or they were natives of the island. Okay? And he was captured and killed, Boosa. But the significance of the rebellion lives on today. The legacy of that rebellion still lives on now. And it feeds the history of the island. And each and every time you visit, you're going to hear about it each and every time. Okay, government-wise and politically speaking, it's a two-party system, Barbados. You have a Democratic Labor Party and a Barbados Labor Party. It's a full and participating member of what's called the Caribbean Community and an original member of the World Trade Organization, WTO, since 1995. And it participates actively in this work. Actively. They're always part of the trade organization, and especially when you have cane being cut. You still have sugar industry going. Not as strong as it was before, back in those early years, but I'll talk more about sugar then, but it's still very strong. So that's why they're still considered part of the WTO. Now, Barbados Defense Force has roughly 600 members, and within that are 12 to 18-year-olds that make up the Barbados Cadet Corps. And speaking of government, just want to share with you what the exchange rate, currency-wise. I'm going to read your minds. I thought that you may ask that tonight. Okay? On Barbados, the currency exchange is 2 Bajan for every US dollar, 2 to 1. So when you exchange your money, the US dollar is more valuable to them. So when you purchase anything on island, when you spend any money on island, you're in a relatively expensive country though. And that is the Barbados Parliament building located in Bridgetown. Moving on. We have Bathsheba. This is one of the most amazing natural wonders on island. One of the most well-visited places. And it's very popular amongst the locals. Okay? Bathsheba is the main fishing village in the parish of St. Joseph, which is in the northeastern side of the island. Okay? With 5,000 as a population of 5,000 actually, okay, on the East Coast. Then you have quaint churches in Bathsheba. You have St. Joseph Anglican Church and Little St. Joseph's Chapel. Now, St. Joseph Anglican Church was built in 1639, and then it was rebuilt in the year 1831, okay, and then it got damaged by a hurricane and then rebuilt in 1839, okay, restored in 1839. Then you have Little St. Joseph Chapel, and that was built in 1640, and then it was rebuilt in the year 1904 following a landslide. Yes, they do have landslides in Barbados. Okay, then you have Joes River Tropical Rainforest, located on the outskirts of Bathsheba, within the village of Bathsheba, with 85 acres of woodland and rainforest with giant ficus, figwoods, cabbage palms, and mahogany trees. Mahogany trees are very popular around the Caribbean. You'll see those growing in all the rainforests when you're going into any island in the Caribbean. Mahogany is a very expensive type of wood that they make a lot of trinkets and a lot of products from in the Caribbean. Keep your eyes out. You're going to see lots of items around the Caribbean made from mahogany. Now, Bathsheba Beach is known as the Supo, where local and international surfing competitions take place. Now, I need to ask you a question. Is there something in this picture that catches your eye? Is there something in this picture that has your attention? Does anyone know? You're close. Which rock do you think it is?
Must be the middle.
Exactly. This is Bathsheba Rock. Okay? Bathsheba, originally, according to legend, she was the wife of King David. Okay? And legend has it that she used to bathe in milk because it makes your skin feel new and clean and soft. And legend also has it, based on that when the waves cascade over the rocky apron of this rock and amongst the rocks surrounding the foam of the waves, it looks like milk. And it gives everybody the impression of those baths that Bathsheba, the wife of King David, spoke of, and how she bathed, how to keep herself in good looking order. So Bathsheba is a beautiful place, and this is very popular for the young crowd, and this can't be a better place to visit. And the natural light, the natural forms, the grasses and the plant life that cling to this rock just make it even more eye-catching. So that's Bathsheba, one of the most well-visited places by the young crowd here in Barbados. Now, here's one of my favorites. This is Harrison's Cave. Harrison's Cave is located in the central uplands of Barbados. Okay? It was first ever mentioned in 1795 and then rediscovered in the 1970s, the early 1970s, by Ulster Aronson and Tony Mason. Naturally formed by water erosion through the limestone rock. Now, you're wondering, what are all these formations inside the cave? What's that made of? That's stalagmite and stalactite. Okay, those are minerals that are found within the cave itself. And the water flows in between all of them. I've been on this tour 3 times, and It is just awe-inspiring. It's the most amazing tour you could go on. And there are 4 well-known areas of this cave. And the tour lasts for about an hour. And they take you on a tour of tram wearing a hard hat. And you stop at various locations along the route. And you see all the waterfalls and all the streams flowing all around you. It's amazing. Okay, so you have the Great Hall, the village, the rotunda, and the altar. Now, there's a 5th area of the cave called the Welkman's Hall Gully. And that's been sealed off because of safety reasons. Very well for those purposes, because it's very rough terrain in that area. So they don't allow tourists or any visitors there. And this is, again, it's located in the uplands of Barbados at 700 feet above sea level. Okay, I have one other slide to show you of Harrison's Cave. This is what else you see in Harrison's Cave. All these lagoons, all these streams right here. And when I was little, when I first visited Harrison's Cave, I remember to this day commenting to my parents saying, "This looks like the inside of a peanut butter sandwich." When you open the peanut butter sandwich, you pull the bread up, it looks like the peanut butter is dripping down. That's exactly what I thought I was in. I thought I was in the middle of a peanut butter sandwich. So it's because it's got that tan brown look on the inside with all the water dripping as well. So it's a very moving place. Definitely majestic and awe-inspiring. And you want to go back every time you visit the islands. It's absolutely awesome. Okay, Bridgetown. It's the capital of Barbados. It's the largest city on island, originally known as St. Michael, and locally referred to as the city or town. I'm sure if you've said to somebody, "Oh, I'm going to town. Anybody coming with me? I'm going shopping. I'm going to town." That's basically what they call Bridgetown. Nobody says, "I'm going to Bridgetown to buy a suit." No, I'm going to town. That's the only city on island. It's the busiest city on island. This is also the city where the cruise ships tie up. And that's where all the shops are right nearest to the pier. Okay. Now, 1628, it was established by the English settlers, okay, in a settlement by Sir William Corton of St. James Town. And it's the only city outside the present-day United States visited by George Washington. And his 2 ancestors, Gerard and Jonathan Houghton, were originally planters on the island. So for that reason, George Washington visited Barbados. And he's the only president in history to visit Barbados back in those early days. Okay. Then, this is Kensington Oval. Any sports fans here? Baseball fans? Anyone? Yankees? Mets? Okay, great. Or whatever team you visit. Cricket is the most famous sport followed on Barbados. The most followed. Okay? Kensington Oval is located to the west end of Bridgetown. It's the preeminent facility for cricket, known as the Mecca of cricket. It's hosted cricket games on both the local, the intermediate, the regional and intermediate, as well as international levels throughout its 120-year history. This was built in 1882. Well, not this version here, but the original facility was built in 1882. The very first cricket matchup was built that was played that year, okay? And the Pickwick Cricket Club assumed its ownership of the grounds here at the stadium. Now it's hosted many non-cricket events as well, including Miss Barbados pageants, football, not our football, but rugby. Okay? It's also hosted inter-school athletics and concerts, including Barbadian pop singer Rihanna. Rihanna is from Barbados. So, cricket is the big sport. So if you want to try out cricket, if you want to see how cricket is played, Kensington Oval's the place. And the very first and that international matchup was played in the year 1895. All right. On the east end of Grantley Adams Airport, that's Barbados' main airport, Grantley Adams International Airport, on the very east end is what's called the Concorde Experience. This is a real Concorde jet, and this was built in April of 2007. Now, for many years, Barbados was the only holiday destination for the British. And British Airways, with the Concorde, also you had Air France, but British Airways provided 4 Concorde flights a week to Barbados, along with their other flights, their 747s and their 777s. But 4 Concorde flights a week. Okay? And this aircraft has been the soul of British Airways. So when you go in there, you get to visit the inside of the aircraft, you get to see the cockpit, you get to see the table settings, you get to see all the china that they serve food on. And this was my favorite part. They even have a simulator where you get to try to fly the aircraft. And let me tell you, I was awful at it. I was awful at it. My brother said to me, like, I am not sitting next to you in the cockpit. But I actually did pretty well on it towards the end of the flight. But it's a great place to visit. So this is on the east end of the airport. So the Concorde Experience is one of the greatest locations to visit. It's a great place to see history right in front of you. The Concorde's a living, it's a time capsule. Because it flew for 30 years despite the accident that it had in 2000. Now, Barbados is called the land of the flying fish, like I said earlier. This fish is only an inch in length. An inch in length, and less than an inch in width. And like I said, it can be seen flying up to 55 miles an hour when it flies above the water. Its approximate height when it flies is 20 feet. 20 feet. But this is a delicacy on island. Don't let the word delicacy fool you. Don't take it lightly. How many of you have been to a party or been to a restaurant and ordered the popcorn shrimp with the chicken fingers? How many of you ordered some fried food from the appetizer menu? Well, if you order a flying fish, this is beyond delicate. You do not want to overcook this fish because of its size. This is a very expensive species of fish that they fish for. And it's decreasing in its numbers in the Caribbean. It used to be found all the way throughout the northern Caribbean, all the way to the south. And now it's just around Barbados and around the surrounding islands. So the numbers have shrunk. So it's becoming that much more expensive and that much difficult to fish for. Okay, I have a book about the flying fish. I have a little model of the flying fish. Check this out. check this out. Okay? All right? So, the flying fish, okay, it can fly up to 140 feet, okay, distance-wise. Its flying distance is 140 feet. But depending on the up currents in the ocean, when it flies above the water, depending on the updrafts from the ocean, it can fly up to 1,600 feet. Yeah, it's that amazing of a fish. With that fish that small, it can fly that far and that high, 20 feet above the waves. Okay. Now, on to the good stuff. Barbados is still a sugar producing island. Okay? For decades past, it has been the backbone, the very backbone of Barbados' economy. And it was introduced by early settlers in the 15th century. Okay? And from that, Britain was provided sugar for various products, including rum and molasses. And you had plantations located all around the island itself. And they were British owned, and they were also slave operated. Now, at these plantations, they grew sugarcane, they ground it right there on premises, they extracted the juice, boiled it down in those cauldrons at the plantations, processed it, shipped it out to Britain, as well as the raw sugar to be made into various products that many of them we still see now. Okay, so I call Barbados the island with a sweet tooth. But the sugar industry has declined, though. Unfortunately, yes, it has, because of rising costs, the manufacturing costs, and the operating costs, just to keep the mills going. And unfortunately, there is a silver lining to it that, okay, I'll talk to you more about in a second. But sugarcane is still the heartbeat of the island. About sugar, about growing and harvesting. Back in 2010, okay, Barbados had 32,000 tons of sugar, okay? About 2,300 tons less than the years before. That's how weak it's been. But it's going to be even stronger because of specialty products now. Okay? If you go to the store and you see a lot of specialty products made from sugar, that's what's making the sugar cane that much more valuable. Okay? Also, those specialty products include Durgavado, which is a light brown sugar that you see on the store shelf. I'm sure you've seen the sugar that says sugar in the raw. It's a brown box. That's Durgavado. You also have Sucarada, and you also have Muscovado. There is a light and a dark color to it. I'll talk to you about that, what the difference between the two. Right? So, Barbados is your can-do people, despite all the hardship in the industry. When Barbados was at its height in the cane industry, when Barbados was at its strong point, back in the 15th century, 16th century, you would not believe how many sugar mills were located around the island. A mind-blowing 491. And how many plantations? There were 512. All located all around the entire coast, right here. And then you have your plantations and your fields located right here towards the center. And when they process the sugar, when they cut the cane, process the sugar, and they load it onto the ships and they sent it out to England. And also you had your slaves that did all the manual work. So growing sugar, cutting it, processing it, and everything else that went with it was painstaking work. Now, sugar mills now are much more time efficient. They're much more time saving, okay, energy efficient as well. It took hours, days to cut that cane down, and then to cut it down and grind it down manually. Because you had to feed it through all those rollers in those sugar mills with the sills, okay? They had to wait for the wind to blow to turn the sill, and then that operated the rollers inside. Now it's done by steam, okay? That's what operates the machines inside these mills now. But let's talk more about the sugar itself. You have a muscovado that is a light and a brown, okay? A light brown and a dark brown. The light is used for making gingerbreads as well as chocolate cake, okay? That's what you use in the light brown muscovado. The dark muscovado is used for making barbecue sauce as well as sticky gingerbreads and other products that involve heavy molasses. Okay, the dark muscovado, if you ever smelt it, it has a heavy molasses smell. It's very moist, and it just reeks of molasses because that's fresh sugar right there. Dark muscovado is true Barbadian sugar, as if it came right off the cane. Okay, now other products, you have your processed sugar, that's your sucarada, that is your cane juice or liquid sugar they call in Ireland. When you go to the bars, when you have any drinks at the bars, let's say if you ordered a rum and coke, or let's say you ordered a very famous drink on Ireland called the lemon squash, you're going to see them pour that cane juice into your drink. That sweetens it up, okay? That's liquid sugar, and that is fresh liquid cane juice. Fresh cane juice right there. And speaking of recipes and sugar and flying fish, I want to pass around a Barbados cooking book, a cookbook there. It's got recipes for the flying fish and other great delicacies on island. Okay. This is the Barbadian cherry, like I spoke to you earlier about. It's known as Malpighia emarginata. It's a tropical fruit-bearing shrub or a small tree in the family called Malpighiaceae. Okay? Malpighiaceae. Pardon me. Okay. Its common names include acerola, Barbados cherry, the West Indian cherry, the wild crepe, myrtle, or even the cerise. And acerola is native to South America, southern Mexico, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Brazil, and Central America. Now it's being grown in Texas and in Asia. But that's not all. The Barbadian cherry, as I said earlier, has the highest. It is the highest number, the highest amount of vitamin C than any fruit. For every 100 grams of fruit in each bulb, each cherry bulb is 100 grams of fruit. Within that 100 grams, you have 1,600 milligrams of vitamin C. 1,677 exactly. Now, what's it made of? What was that? What do they make from the Barbadian cherry? Lots of fruit juices, vitamin C concentrates, okay? Lots of pulps that you use in lots of foods. The most common use is baby food. Which is why infants grow up so quickly. Okay, so the Barbadian cherry is the chief ingredient in most baby foods because it's high in vitamin C, and it's called the superfood. All right. So, moving on, you have lots of other great products in Barbados. You have the Mount Gay rum and Muscovado. This is your dark Muscovado, okay? That's your dark. And you have your two types, your light and the dark. That's what you use in chocolate cake. This is what you use in barbecue sauce, all right? And that is your Durgavado. That is the specialty product that you now see in the store, like sugar in the raw, like I mentioned, okay? Mount Gay rum, the oldest rum in the world, okay? Mount Gay rum is just as famous like all other rums. Mount Gay is in Barbados. You have Black Seal in Bermuda, okay? You have Crucian rum, which is made on the island of St. Croix. It's made there on island as well, okay? And then you also have another great rum out there. Oh, those are the three best in the Caribbean right there. You have Crucian, you have Black Seal in Bermuda, but then you have Mount Gay rum. In Jamaica, you have Jamaica's got a great rum too. I keep forgetting the name of it. No, I was just talking about this morning. But but every island is known for its rum, and they all have great ingredients as well. So Mount Gay is a rum that you want to see on island. Okay, so those are the pride and the products of Barbados right there for you. Now, I have one other book I want to share with you. This is Barbados, an Island Portrait. I want to pass that around. It's got lots of photos of some of the places I spoke about today. Okay? Now, I wish to say thank you for coming out tonight. I have lots of other presentations that I do. My newest one is on Jamaica, one island, one love, one heart. I have others like Puerto Rico, St. Martin, and Hawaii. That's one of my other favorites I like doing. You're wondering what this picture is? That is me in the belly flop competition on Royal Caribbean. I couldn't help but put that one in. And as I say in Barbados, if greedy wait, hot will cool, which means in any situation, your patience is rewarded. So I greatly appreciate your patience and for coming out tonight. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you all here again sometime later. Thank you, and have a good night.